You're tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
If you get it.
There you go. We always wait for that chorus. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Bar Rescue After Show. Kevin Undergaro and Mia are not here today, but we have Phil Svitek holding down the fort for Kevin Undergaro alongside Ashley Daniels.
Hi.
And, of course, Dorinda Barker.
Hi, guys.
And this week we're in Philadelphia, the best pizza on South Street.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. A lot of people can make claims like that. I see these claims a lot, like the best in the world at something. And
It's like, remember an Elf?
Yes, the best coffee in the world.
Best coffee in the world.
You have the best coffee. Congratulations.
And then it tastes like, this is awful.
yeah, so we need a system of checks and balances as to what actually is good. I thought this episode came out of nowhere for me because it had so many different elements. Just the fact alone, there was 2 stories to this bar.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen, from my memory, I've never seen that on Bar Rescue, and I thought that was really cool.
No, this is a first for Bar Rescue.
So, after so many episodes, they still find inventive ways to keep the show fresh.
Yes.
Oh, there's so many ways that I really love what they do. You can never, on Bar Rescue, go, oh, this is how it's going to go. Because there will be something new and something different that keeps your attention. That is the reason why this show has gone from 10 episodes to 20 episodes to 30 episodes. And, as the seasons go on, because of that reason. Well, and plus, people love watching it, and Taffer's a genius, and everyone else that works with him. But that's one of the reasons people love what they do, love this show, is because it's always different.
And Ashley, what was your overall impression of the episode?
I always learn a lot, but I really learned a lot about the second floor and just how you have to make it appealing because it cannot be secondary and it has to be just as primary as the first floor, and it needs to be distinguished from the first floor. And those things you just never think of. Now next time I walk in a place that's a 2-story place, I'm going to think twice about it. And I'm gonna check out the second floor and just see, are they doing what Taffer says to do?
Yeah. That will be absolutely interesting. And
it looks like we have something going on.
Birthday to you. It's okay. Happy birthday to you.
For those of you listening,
Birthday, dear Phil. Happy birthday to you.
thank you, everybody. I'm sure the fans are loving this moment right now.
They are, actually. The fans love you, Phil.
We love you.
I will say this. If there's a lesson here, it's if you treat your employees well, they'll give you cake. Yes, that's the ultimate thing. No, but what I love is the sense of community that AfterBuzz can really be about. Well, I'm doing a bar rescue show, Jason Eichler. I'm trying to tie it into and give life lessons. So if you are an employer, be good to your people, then they'll do that. You know what I mean? Treat people well, and you know the fact that all of you guys did this, hopefully is a reflection that you guys do actually like me and you're not just putting it out there. Thank you guys so much.
Blow the candle.
Yay!
Thank you.
Hey, Phil, look this way.
I got it on video. Don't worry. Second speech of the day in my phone.
I know. All right, thank you all. Now back to the after show.
All right.
All right. Unlike Mr. Thomas,
He just gets right back in it. I love it.
I am not drunk for this show.
I just love you.
And hopefully that is not reflective of
You're
how
the
I act.
best. We are so appreciative of you, and we love you.
I just hear the door open and I'm like, what's going on? And
Well, we knew.
we were in trouble.
I was much aware.
You know, okay, again, because I at the very least want to tie this in some way. You know, every AfterBuzz host that comes in here, you know, to me, I don't think of myself as their boss. They look at me and they say, hey, Phil has responsibilities and duties that we need him to fulfill. And vice versa, I have the respect that, you know, each host has certain duties that they need to fulfill. And we respect each other equally. But when you call employees white trash, have things like pink vagina and
blue veiny monster.
Blue veiny monster. There was one. There was
a panty dropper.
Panty dropper was one of the drinks on the menu as well. So just right off the bat, when regardless, A, you're insulting your employees, and B, when you throw that kind of mentality out there of just bad jokes in general, it's not a good combination.
Oh, I mean, he was using vulgar language with them. He was everything. And here, it was just awful, some of the things he was saying.
Yeah, I think it was especially, it was really bold of Tafford to say to him, how would you like it if someone talked like that to your daughter, who, as we know, is 8 months pregnant? Yeah. And it really takes those moments, kind of like what you were saying, how, you know, the way you treat people is the way they'll treat you. And in that sense, he's now going to think twice every time he talks to a girl and says, that's someone's daughter. It's just, it's really good that he did that.
It was amazing what Coco said, you know, like, her name's Allie. That's all she should be called, and obviously John agreed with that. That's 100% correct. That's the only thing she should be called. Certainly not white trash. How about maybe an amazing employee and thing like that's what you're supposed to call your.
Or say nothing at all. If she's not amazing, just
then if she isn't amazing, then yes, fire her. That's what deserves to have happen.
Right. What did you think of Tafford actually? And I know you'll go into it during that, but having the roles switched and having them speak to him the way he was speaking to them. Did you agree with that?
I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a great combination of, in the past, obviously, he had his speech about yelling at people, but he does it to prove a point. And other times he goes into a mode where he straight up teaches. For example, with the Hurricane Sandy brothers, right? And so this was a nice combination of the two, where he got to a level with him because he had served this county and all that, and he'd seen all the, you know, homicides, rapes, murders. He was able to get on a level like, hey, I respect what you did, but now I need to help pick you up because you are better than this, you know. And there's different tactics. You need to be shown that, you know, what you're doing right now is not who you were.
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, he did it for 27 years. 27 years to be on the job, and most cops are there for 27, 25. But to be a detective for a big part of that is huge. And it's, you know, it wears on you. It definitely wears on you. And he said for 25 years he's had at least one drink every day for 25 years. And it's become a habit. He goes, well, I didn't think I have any habits. Well, I guess now this is my habit, now that I look at it.
Yeah. I mean, if we really looked at each other's lives, the amount of habits we actually do have is insane. And by the way, not in terms of habits, but just in general, practice doesn't make perfect, it makes permanent. So if you know what I mean?
Yes.
The whole point is that one of the reasons why they put them through the stress test and all this is to get them to do the things correctly and to make them remember these things correctly. I mean, you guys as bartenders, you know, like, regardless of whoever you're serving to, even if it's a slow night, you're still gonna get that drink out as fast as you can.
Oh, yeah.
I think also just going on the alcohol, you know, alcoholism, it's a disease. And I really felt like he was an alcoholic who really needed help, which we saw later. He did get a little bit of help, and, you know, Tafford offered to have the therapist, you know, stay with him longer than just this a couple days that they were shooting. And you could tell when he was talking to that therapist, he really was able to open up, and it seemed like he wanted to get help.
And that, you know,
another side comes out when you drink.
Absolutely, and just the fact that you know, I don't know, I can't. It's always tough to speak whether or not it's an older thing or if it's still relevant today. But just the stigma associated with talking to someone about one's problems.
And, you know, that was his thing. Different cultures and ethnicities have different ways of looking at going to therapy.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's still with men. especially older generation of men, and a guy who's a cop from the East Coast, Philly of all places, that is not something that you want to, that they think is necessary. They think that that's a wimpy thing to do. But sometimes that helps you out more than anything. That's the most manly thing you can do, is go and get it taken care of.
Right, with PTSD as well. A lot of them suffer from that, just from things that they've seen in their lives and on the workforce. So it's probably more common than we even think in police, firemen. And
I mean, the frightening part is, right, think of how many people, everyone's, it's not about comparing lives, but there's a lot of people, if they're traumatized by one singular event, right, how horrible and what an effect that can actually have on a person. Now imagine, right, going back to things of habit. He's seen this for 27 years.
Yep.
That became habit. Seeing rape victims, seeing murder, seeing all the, robbery, crime, and
I mean, you get very desensitized about it. I have I have a very dear friend of mine who is an LA cop here, and I've known him from New Jersey, and he's here now, and he's been an LA cop now for 16 years, 17 years almost, and so he was telling me a story, and it's something that I would be just mortified by, but he was just so matter of fact about it because at this point he's seen it all.
Yeah.
So, except he became a pet detective, and then he was more mortified by what people did to pets than what people did to people.
By the way, because the AfterBuzz host came in here and wished me happy birthday, I forgot to announce that Phil Wills, one of the mixologists of tonight's episode, will be calling in. That was supposed to be the tease, but it's not a tease because he's actually on the line.
Woo! Hi, Phil.
hi.
That was a quick tease.
I know. Welcome to the show. We're kind of still on the recon part. So what was your initial reaction as you were sitting in the van watching this bar?
Oh man, during the recon, it was just watching the owner, just the way he was obviously our primal focus. And he obviously has a lot of issues going on, but he was just nonstop drinking the whole time, and obviously that's not a way to run a business if you want to be successful. But that was just my thought of just watching him and how he continuously was drinking and how he was continuously, putting his employees down. It was shocking.
Yeah, and to that point, I really liked, and he might have done this, John might have done this before, but the fact of like, hey, you're closing down the bar, the rest of the employees, you guys go home. You guys deserve to go home. I thought that was a brilliant strategy.
Yeah, that was great, and that just kind of put into perspective, him actually doing the work and how difficult it is, and giving the employees a break from his tyranny and how he would, approach them and how he was talking to them. It was like, let's get them out of there. John knew that he had an issue that he had to work on, so that was kind of the starting process of it all.
So one of the things for you is we were just talking about how the employees, they did the switcheroo, where he went behind the bar and the employees were at the bar, and they were talking to him the way he normally talks to them, how Tom would normally talk to his staff. How was it being in that room watching that happen?
It was, in the beginning, it actually was funny. It was actually kind of funny watching their response to him behind the bar and how they were talking to him and how they were treating him the way that he treated them. But as it progressed, it did get a little sad. It kind of got sad because Tom obviously was influenced by alcohol at the time, but he really was lost behind the bar, and he didn't know what he was doing. And having his own employees coming at him in that way, it kind of shined a light on how he was treating them. So it actually started to get sad a little bit.
Could you see the change in his reactions? Like, what was, obviously we got a very shortened down version of that, but was he getting upset, or was he kind of like, oh my God, I've really wronged these people?
It was more of, oh my God, I really wronged these people, and you could see how he was getting flustered back there and started to forget what he was doing, and then you could see that maybe a light kind of went off on him, that the way he was treating them wasn't going to make them better or wasn't going to make their jobs any easier, and he felt that firsthand.
Very.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask, hi, this is Ashley. I just wanted to ask, in terms of watching the episode, what stood out to you watching it that maybe you didn't even notice at the time, or you had forgotten about, something that just you were like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that happened, because I know it's a lot of stuff that gets taped.
Especially when you're in it, sometimes you don't even notice it when you're in it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things just watching that after the episode aired, you know, and there's a lot of things that end up on the editing floor, but some things I really didn't realize that there was such a strong relationship between Coco and Tom at the time until later on I watched it and I saw, you know, how emotional she did get when they were treating him bad. I didn't realize that the relationship was that strong. Actually, for me, I wasn't there when they were filming at that time. Mm-hmm. So to see her in tears at the bar, I didn't realize that she had that strong a relationship with him where she actually cared that much.
Interesting. Yeah, that was very sad to watch.
And but as a question, have you how many bars with 2 stories have you worked in? Because to me, you know, there's so many interesting aspects, but this alone, for lack of a better term, was worth the price of admission. Learning about the 2 stories of a bar.
Yeah, I've been a part of a lot of different bars that have been 2 stories, and you know, just kind of what John did and the thought process behind what he wanted to do with that bar was right on point. Especially when you have a bar that has 2 totally different concepts from top to bottom. There's got to be some separation, and there has to be something that is going to draw people up. And you know, one thing that they did show, I'm not sure if you guys are at this point in the episode, but when we finally did the relaunch, people didn't realize that there was a bar upstairs. I'm sorry, it was a stress test. But people didn't even realize that there was a bar upstairs at the time. Mm-hmm. You know, and that just kind of shows the importance that if you do have that, I mean, essentially you have 2 separate businesses that you could run, and he had the opportunity to run is something that we kind of moved to as far as having the downstairs separate from the top floor.
Yeah. What was in terms of the bartenders themselves? Once, you know, obviously Tom was a huge factor that we need to change here, but the individuals bartenders themselves, what was the stuff that they needed to work on in order to be successful for Tom?
Well, I mean, the number one thing that I found with them is just basic bartending techniques. Was there wasn't a lot there. They didn't really understand the technique of building a drink and the importance of putting a quality drink in front of your guest. And we don't even have to talk about the names that they used to have for those drinks, because those are just outright offensive. Yeah, that was mind blowing to me as well.
And the disgust you had for it.
I really think that the bartenders needed to learn how to put a quality drink out to their guests, in front of their guests, and make them really appreciate not only the establishment that they're in, but the skills that the bartenders do carry. A few of them did have some decent skills, and their people skills were the most important thing that Tom could really capitalize on, because a few of those girls really had a great guest interaction. They made people feel welcomed into the bar, and you know, it kind of moved up to a point where next time I go to Philly, I'd love to go to that bar and just sit down and have a cocktail, because that's someplace that I would want to hang out at.
Yeah, and talk to us about Selfie Girl. We got little bits of moments of her, but you know, and then John Taffer. People don't give him enough credit for his humor. She's at home taking a selfie of her failure. What happened with her?
That might be the best line of the night, by the way.
I know.
Yeah, that was great. You know, she was a struggle from the beginning, and I kind of felt like she didn't want to learn. She didn't want to get better, because what it was is, as we were teaching them different techniques, and you know, before she walked out, it was mind blowing to me when I came down to the bar and I asked her a simple question. She told me she was leaving, and it wasn't even a stressful environment at the time. Stressful in terms of if I was back there at the bar, attending bar. It was just mind blowing that she would want to walk out at that time. But I mean, that's what the stress test is for. You know, we could really see who's gonna make it and who's not gonna make it, and see the flaws that we need to work on. And obviously, she helped us out, because she was somebody within that staff that really shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Absolutely.
Was it Allie? Because you asked them, "Are you ready?" when you started to do teach them the drinks for just the stress test, not even the other drinks. And when she was like, you asked, "Are you ready?" She goes, "I will never be ready."
Yeah, exactly. she said she would never be ready, and then there was another point in time when I was teaching them drinks, and she said that she couldn't remember the drinks. And I told her, I said, you have the recipes right in front of you. You don't have to remember them. I'm just asking you to make them for me right now. And that's what she was saying, that this is too stressful. It's too stressful. But she's a bartender. It's supposed to be stressful.
If you can't bartend under stress, you should not. Yes, it's such a stressful job if you're in a very busy bar, because there's so much you have to do. And you've been there.
You have to multitask. You have to handle the stress. You have to handle guests yelling at you. You have to handle intoxication. There's a lot that has to be handled. People get into bartending think it's going to be a quick buck and a quick way to earn some money, but there's really a lot that goes around with it to become a well-rounded bartender.
So with that, I don't think we've ever asked any of our mixologists this, and maybe I should even ask our two bartenders here.
I'm not a bartender.
You've worked in the bar business.
I work in the bar business,
question is, in terms of teaching,
I just want to be honest.
in terms of teaching the bartenders, if you were to do it normally, what would the length of time be versus what you're doing on Bar Rescue, which is such a condensed version of what you have to do? And not only that, not only do you have to teach them, you also now have to help John come up with the drinks that kind of go along with his theme. Obviously, yours was the second state, that kind of thing. So, how do you manage teaching them on that expedited schedule?
Well, what I do is I try to hone in on exactly what needs to be worked on. And a lot of these places that we go in and do, a lot of the things are similar that needs to be worked on, but there's a lot of quality bartenders that are out there that just kind of lost their way. And we can kind of zero in and see where their strengths are and where their weaknesses are. And what we try to do is during the training is to train those weaknesses and exemplify those strengths. So we train on the weaknesses and as well as coming up with new drinks and a new cocktail program for them and a whole new look and everything. But we want to make sure when we leave there that they can actually execute the new drinks and the new techniques that they have learned. And that's what the whole process through the training is that you guys see on camera, and there's a ton of training that goes on off camera that you guys just don't see and they don't have time to put on the final edit.
How many hours a day and how many days do you get to work with them?
Well, from the first time, usually I connect with the bartenders either during recon or it's the next day during the staff meeting. Sometimes we do it that night as well. But from that point, I start to kind of build the foundation to what I'm going to work with. So it starts then. We obviously have the day of the stress test that we do some training on that part. And then we gather all the weaknesses and we do an on-camera training, which lasts for about a half a day, and then we go away for a good whole day, meaning an 8-hour day of doing consistent training on the outside off the camera as well.
Okay. Yeah. Very nice. And you've done a few episodes for Bar Rescue, and with every episode, I'm sure you take something away from every episode. With this episode, what did you take away from it?
Well, this episode, in my opinion, there was, it was about Tom, and it was about the issues that he's had and the demons that he has had. You get a little choked up inside when it's the very end, and they're just saying thank you, and you can see the tears in their eyes, and they're real thankful for what you've done for them. So from this episode, what I took away is that we actually made a change, and the stuff that John does and the knowledge that he has, not only about the bar business, but just about the human behavior in general, is pretty amazing. And every time I'm with him, I'm learning something new. But with this last episode, it was the change that we made in the owner. It was kind of nice.
Have you stayed in touch with anyone from this episode in particular?
There's a few people on social media that will reach out here and there, but nothing as far as text messages or full-on conversations. But I tell everybody, I give everybody my email address and reach out to me on social media. And anytime they need any help or they have any questions, it's open line of communication. I always tell them it doesn't end when the cameras go off and we all leave. That I still have their back, no matter what down the line if they have any questions or they need any help with anything.
Very cool.
I was just going to ask, did you feel that Tom now, did that this not drinking anymore, that it really stuck to him, or do you feel like, what was your gut feeling about him and drinking at the end?
Alcoholism I've been around it in my life, and it's been in my family as my grandfather, so, I kind of know it firsthand on what an alcoholic is and that disease. And unfortunately, I'm not sure if Tom had gone to get extra help after the episode, but that's what was needed in order for him to stay down this path.
Right.
So without knowing that, I would say that he probably would have gone back to having a drink or two, and then obviously that's going to lead to a little bit more. Hoping that at some point his daughter and himself decided to go and get some true professional help to kind of help him with that disease that he has.
Absolutely.
And I'm actually going to save this one question for the end because it has to do with another episode.
Got it. All right, so you're putting me on the spot.
But yeah, Phil.
Oh, shoot, no, I forgot. Go ahead, ask it.
I have, because we talk about this episode. We've talked about this episode a few times, and we talk about you a lot. We love when you're on the show. We really, really do. I'm so happy you called in. Thank you for doing this. Now, the episode oh, you're welcome. The episode you got sick. You are a trooper because the whole episode you look like I just want to die.
Oh my gosh!
And it was just from one sip, right?
It was just a sip, and it's I get asked about that episode quite often. It obviously was disgusting, and friends, people that know me, and people in the industry just kind of laugh at me because I threw up on television. But I don't laugh about it. Whenever somebody says that episode or they bring it back up, I get this weird sense in my nose of smelling that bar again. And I can remember I can go right back to the first time I walked into that bar with Chef Duffy, and the stench that I got out of the bar initially made me sick. Just sick to my stomach. And then drinking that beer it went down. It was metallic. It was citrusy. It was everything that a dark beer shouldn't be. And right when it hit my stomach, it was coming right back up. I could have done everything in my power to hold it down, but it was either going to be all over the bar top or it was going to be in the toilet. So one way or another, it was coming back up. But yeah, and still to this day, when I talk about it or people mention it, I get that same feeling and that same smell, that sense of that smell in my nose. It's so disgusting.
Well, very cool. So thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate it. We don't want to keep you too long. You're a busy man. But, feel free to call in any time that you're on another episode. We'd love to have you.
And if you're ever in L.A., come and visit us whenever we're on.
That's right.
Well, I will next time. We'll be in contact. I live in Pasadena, so L.A.
Oh, you do?
Oh, look at that.
Oh, perfect. Come to the studio.
Yeah. We'll definitely link up next time. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Once again, that was Phil Wills.
That was awesome.
2 Phils in one show you got. Look at that.
Oh my gosh, we're blushing right now. Jeez.
I'm so excited
So
that he
many
called
Phils,
in. He's
so
up
little
there, one of
time.
my faves. He is. He's up there on one of my faves.
No, I'm glad we.
You are too, Phil.
Hey, anyone named Phil is okay in my book. I'm telling you right now. So we kind of, for the most part, we talked about the recon. Whatever we didn't, just let us know in the comments, and we'll respond with you guys. But let's get into the stress test.
Yes.
I give Tom, and I think Durden and I watched it together.
I watched it alone.
You watched it separately, and unfortunately, typically we do watch separately. But the fact that everyone was looking at Tom like, poor Tom, he's gonna have a heart attack walking these stairs.
Yeah, because you go in, first of all, before we even go into stress, well, that was the day of the stress test when they have their little meeting. And the daughter Laura comes in, and she just tells him in front of everybody how scared she is for him. Mm-hmm. And, she's scared for her dad. She's 8 months pregnant. She wants her dad there for her child. I mean, anybody who's ever, had children, that's what they want. They want their parents there so they can see the next generation come about. And she was afraid he wasn't even going to be there for that, and she was 8 months pregnant. That must be really bad to think you're 8 months pregnant and you're not going to see my son she had a son. And then Taffer then destroys the bad tipper sign.
That was terrible.
That was. What did you get? I want to know your guys' perspective on this sign.
Okay, so
if you don't tip well, you're gonna get bad service.
All right. It's a sensitive subject for me because I have a lot of friends that are also in the restaurant business that work very, very hard, and there's been so many times where they're like, oh my gosh, it's these people are buying this, they're buying that, this is going to be like $1,000 that they're going to spend, I'm going to get 20% of this, and then they end up literally, and I've seen it, I've been there, they leave $1 or they leave like 33 cents. I mean, someone actually left 33 cents once. I don't want to say where, but they did, and it's so hard because these people work so hard to do a really good job.
Is it an LA thing? Because I know in LA, typically, it's not so good with tipping.
I'll tell you this. I'm from Boston, as you know, and it's a big thing to tip out there. Like, it's just like, it makes people feel like they look better when they tip. It's just, you flaunt tipping. And out here, it's the number one thing I learned, and I learned it early on from the restaurant business, is that the more money, and not all people, because there are so many good people that don't do this, but the more money some people have, the less they're willing to tip. And I've seen that more often than not. And I don't know if it's because in LA people have so much money, but it's not always the case, 100% not always the case, but that's what I've usually seen, is the people that are in customer service tip really well. Because they get it.
And,
I also think, too, because on the East Coast, like New York, Jersey, Boston,
Pennsylvania, hopefully.
Philly, even Philly, you know what tipping well means? And you don't look down on being in the industry, the hospitality industry. LA, and I don't really want to get into this, but it is kind of true because we've been in it.
It's interesting.
They kind of look down on you. They look down on you. So it's not looked at as it is something to reward.
Yeah.
Where and I've seen people fight over the bill on the East Coast.
They don't, not out here now. Out here they're like, who's paying?
Exactly.
More often than not.
I hate to say this, but you know what? I love taking people out, but never has, unless it's, unless I'm out with Kevin and Maria, then we'll fight over the bill, ironically. But and I don't want to single anybody out, but so many times people just like walk away and don't, half the time they don't even say thank you. I'm like, you know what? I don't care about flipping the bill, but there's definitely people who say thank you and there's people who don't. And I'm like, all right, check you.
It's so true. It happens more often than not, and I hate to say that and make a generalization of people because there are so many very, very appreciative people, but the working restaurant business from back home to here
is a completely different.
Yeah. But here's how we'll kind of tie it all back in and hopefully go full circle with it, is the fact that it's almost becomes the chicken and the egg syndrome. If like, okay, well, if you don't tip well, I'm not going to give you service. It's a downward mentality, So if you just have great service and you happen to get that quote unquote shitty tipper, then it is what it is. It's unfortunate, but hey, you know what? That's when I'm throwing this out there. Because if I was a boss, and I don't know if this is right, but if I would tell my employees, like, hey, you know what? You as a bartender, if you give them great service, tell me if you don't get tipped well, and then I'll go up to that person and I'll say, hey, did you like your service? We don't have to be
the East Coast part of you, and that
we don't have to be as direct.
Will not happen in a very nice restaurant. They just don't.
There is a restaurant chain here.
It's a chain.
It's a chain. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you might know where. And I don't want to mention them and call them out.
Don't.
That does that. The manager will go up and say, "Was there something wrong with the service? Was it?" And then whoever the manager will say, "Then how come this is that?"
Yeah, that's not going to happen at fine dining restaurants as often
never.
as it's going to happen at a chain restaurant. But it would be really nice if that did happen. I say there's no problem with going up to them and saying, was there something wrong with your service? As the server, especially if it's a long night and you've been doing it. It's no problem. You're not saying anything disrespectful. Just, did you have a problem? I just was wondering.
You can't do that. It doesn't work because no matter what you say and no matter how you approach them, they will come from a defensive standpoint.
Sometimes they forget to tip because more often than not, believe it or not, they think the tip's already included. People will come back and say to the server.
Over that chance, though.
Well, more often than not, a lot of the servers that do that, they come back and say they thought that it was added on because people think gratuity is added on when it's four people or more, and that's not the case anymore.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, it depends on the manager. I don't know. I'm just saying, but I'd love to run this by John because clearly I have so much bar experience. But for me, I would come in like, hey, just let me know, and then we'll work it out. Because then, again, this is where I'm coming from, and John, as you're listening to this, feel free to write me an email, text me, whatever you have to do to correct me, or just say hopefully I am right. But to say, like, you know what, if you stop them and the service was bad, you know what, it's still beneficial for you to know if your employee did do something wrong, because maybe they did, or maybe they actually did do well, and then, you know what, if that's the type of people that are coming in here, you know what, I just don't think it's beyond reach to say to them, like, you know what, if that's the way you're going to be, I don't want you in my bar. It's like the same thing with bikers, right? If they're going to be rowdy bikers in your bar, get out.
I agree. But I don't think he should have had the sign. I don't think he should have had the sign.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It starts with give them good service.
Yeah.
If you give them good service and they tip bad, then it's on them.
That's what table notes are for.
Eliminate.
Write a note of that person's name for next time.
It's imprinted in your brain anyway. You'll see that person coming, and so you'll not going to go out of your way. You're still giving good service, but you're not going to go above and beyond if you know, every time this person comes in, he does this.
But I think here's the thing. I think go even beyond that. That's my whole point with the sign. Go beyond that. And you know what? Just every time, right? Practice makes permanent. Just do an amazing time, regardless if they're a bad tipper, because then guess what? That's on them. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then you have a right. But if you know what? Yes, trust me, it's very tough. That's why, like, how many times, a lot of times we see amazing bartenders in these episodes, and they've just lost faith because they're not empowered in any sort of way. Yep. The place looks bad. They try to do what they can, but the owner just doesn't care. They try to get new glasses, but no, whatever else. But if you eliminate all the other variables, and you can say, hey, I did everything I could, and you know what, the rest is on you, then you're the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you can't do that if there's more variables to be added. I don't know. That's just my perspective on the side.
It is a very good perspective, and I like that perspective, actually. Because we've been there. Yeah. I like your perspective.
So, I mean, it is very difficult. It is, trust me. And that's, like I said, that's why we see these bartenders that can be great, but they're not because of, they lose hope.
So in the draft, when he goes and tests the temperature on the beer, 65 degrees. 65 degrees, that's a hot tea.
I'll tell you, I'm already spoiled now by 22-degree beer. It's like the only beer I'll have. Yeah. When Kevin goes, look at that fridge. I'm like, I can never drink beer from a regular fridge anymore. So never mind that. That must be disgusting. It was all foam.
It was all foam. I was like, where's my milk and sugar?
It's a latte. Beer latte.
Which, by the way, we kind of backtracking, I want to know the amount of dough that this place had.
I was just getting into that.
Let's go ahead. We can quickly backtrack.
Oh no, actually no, we're right on point. We're right on point with the dough because it was right after the beer.
It was.
It was. We were technically on the stress. We've gone every which way, but
first of all, it reminds me of Bertucci's. Do you remember Bertucci's when they give you the dough? It gave me a little bit. Remember they give you dough, everybody eats it. Like they tell you to make a pizza and then it's nothing left because you ate it all. That's good dough, and it brought me back there, so it was a good memory. But really, when they had Tom eat the
floor dough,
I went back to my Bertucci's days, and I was just like, you just don't think dough could ever taste bad. It's always tastes delicious, but the fact is that was like on the floor, and I mean, as we know, and they explained it the way when there gets to be too many holes and all the scientific things about it, and then it loses all of its density.
Goodness. Let's just say goodness for lack of a better term.
If he's losing so much money, I can tell you where some of that money is going. It's going into all that dough. Like, why would you have that much dough? That's a problem. Are you swimming in it? Like, I don't get it. There was no reason to have it.
It's the wrong dough to be swimming in, that's for sure.
And they had raw chicken. The chicken was spoiled. The fridge was too hot.
Do you think it stemmed from the fact... Do you think it stemmed from the fact of, like... Because I could see this... where he tells the employee, hey, every day we need to make fresh dough. But if we don't, but have that ready, but obviously we need to use up the dough that we haven't used.
Right.
And if you don't have customers, ultimately that accumulates to lots of dough.
Well, the kitchen staff actually just didn't really care. You can tell they didn't care.
Oh, that pizza was from the beginning,
it was disgusting.
The grease on that pizza was.
And because the dough was bad, it had that weird taste.
That's what the weird taste was from. 'Cause I thought maybe it was the cheese, but
yeah. And to me, the bar staff cared a lot. The kitchen staff was just there to be the kitchen. They were just there to pay.
But they turned it around.
They did. But we're talking about like at this particular moment, because here's the thing: they knew how much dough was there. They would be like, "This is crazy," and even though Tom was out of it and all those things, they knew that was too much.
Yeah.
Listen, if you have the IQ of 25, you would know that was too much dough.
Fair enough. I mean, it certainly was a lot of dough. I don't know.
have issues with the dough.
yeah, you do. We all have issues with the dough.
I mean, absurd. Just an absurd amount.
He was shocked when he saw it. I think he noticed for the first time how much dough he had.
I wonder when the last time he went down there.
Yeah.
That's a good
lot of them are very shocked, though, when they see their fridges and stuff, as if they've never gone down there, because I don't think they do, like you said.
Well, because, even if they're not on drugs or alcohol or anything like that, like, you just get in this mental space that you're not sober, even if you are, on the off chance, actually sober.
Well, yeah, and it goes through the thing that we've talked about all the seasons being here, and you'll hear this a lot, Ashley. He said perfectly, I decided to buy a bar because I thought it was going to be easy.
Nah, never easy.
You know what? Take that money, go to your basement, and make a bar.
Honestly, I mean, that's essentially what Kevin and Maria did.
Yeah. It's beautiful, though.
It is. That's why, when you don't lose money on it.
Which is so awful.
All right. For the sake of time, let's get the post-stress test.
Yes.
Let's get to kind of the remodel, right? Everything's now going towards this idea of second state. We know we've got 2 stories, and that it just works so well, right? 2 stories, second state, second story, right?
Yeah.
And the drink, Dorinda, I printed out some drink recipes for you.
Yes. Yes.
Talk about this. Let's talk about the second state one in particular.
Second state legit. Okay. Recipes.
I have it here if you want it.
Oh, you have it too, Ashley?
I wrote
Go
it
ahead.
down. It's Captain Morgan. Are you talking about the ingredients?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like pineapple, Captain Morgan, sweet and sour, grenadine, and then soda. I don't know what kind of soda because I was writing it really fast as he was saying it, but yeah, it looked really good. But the Pizza Mary one was the one that I wanted because I love Bloody Marys.
Yes.
That one was good.
But I'm like, can you pair that with pizza? Is it too much like gravy taste all at once?
Well, if you're only using like a dash of it, not a lot of it, and then you're putting in everything they put in was basically a Bloody Mary except for the pizza sauce.
Yes.
So, but in the pizza sauce, since it's thicker,
Right.
you could put that in and mix it around, and it would, liquefy, and as long as you weren't putting in as much as you would put like tomato juice, it would be fine. I was like, and what about the garlic knots as the? Oh, hello.
Anything garlic, I love.
Oh, hello. And then so they did that, and yours was that was the alleged. Oh no, the alleged frozen Bellini. They did. That was a good one. And they didn't really go into that one.
I don't have that one. No.
Yeah, they didn't go into that one. I saw it. It was at Alleged. And remember towards the end, they have the hurricane glasses and someone's putting champagne on top.
High up for the windows. So
that was cool. I loved it because it was such a contrast, too.
And I love that they got really excited, right? My favorite is when you saw Phil kind of make the bartenders excited about it, but for me, when John Taffer really gets excited and gets his hand movements going and he's really explaining the science of it, and you see that big John Taffer smile on his face, that to me are the funnest moments. And what's great is that everyone, including Tom, was really getting behind this and saw what it is and what it could be.
And I love that the Second State Lounge upstairs was an homage to history.
Yes, second state.
Yeah, and everything in there was, because when I said, oh wow, it looks like an old tavern. So I just went to
And you love the exposed brick.
yes, I love exposed brick, and it just looked like a tavern. And there's in Annapolis, it's a very old town too, Revolutionary War town, and there's a Starbucks. And it was downstairs from one of the hotels, and it was made just like that. Just like an old school revolutionary tavern, but it's just was served coffee, and it was I just trip out over that stuff.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
It was beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah.
He did such a great job, and the people on the outside of the window, you can look in, and the people at the window, people didn't even know that was there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they were having so much fun. And when you see people in that window,
You want to be upstairs.
yeah, and the question is, how do I get there? You know, which building that's the building I go in.
Yeah, because you think there's a party going on, and
Absolutely.
who doesn't want to go to a party? And
Just Tapper doesn't leave anything out. There's thought behind everything, even the size of the glasses, so people can see them from the window. Like he thinks of everything. It's just he's just genius.
And what about the pizza? Doing the pizza in front of the window so you get the energy.
Yes.
The energy's going, which brings in the kitchen staff. Now they're all hyped up. They're ready to go. And since people are going to be walking by, because there's 17,000 on the average, 17,000 people every day that walk past that place. If you can just get 1% of that, it's 170 people. You want about 3 or 4%. But if you could get 1%, that's still 170 people in a place in one day. That's fantastic.
Smell of pizza will get you in there alone.
Oh yeah, that's going to be their moneymaker. And the way they had it set up, where you can have something to drink and a pizza at the same time, but it looks like one of those walk-in pizza shops. That's brilliant, isn't it?
Really is.
So good. And I would be remiss if we didn't mention Dr. Eric Levine.
Yes.
That John brings in to talk to Tom, and he's an expert in PTSD, and that's what he does. And once again, another thing that we always talk about, John's has heart, and he brought in this doctor, and the doctor said, I would really like you to keep coming after this is all over. And that's what I want to know. I want to know if he kept going.
Yeah, and you had mentioned to me that during that that some of the stuff was changed back.
Not that it was changed back. They got rid of alleged pizza and bar, or bar and pizza. They got rid of that name and just kept Second State. Now I can understand that in a way. Maybe they didn't like alleged. I don't know, but they got rid of that and now it's just Second State, which is fine. And okay. I mean, I can get it. I mean, I can get on that train. Because sometimes people
What
like
about
to.
you?
I mean, I liked it as the two, but I guess. And it could even be done for business purposes and legal purposes on your business. And
but John knows there's no way John does. Come on. About business, and he always sets up people in the right way.
Yeah.
I think my issue is this. There was a great quote, ironically, on a show that you guys would not believe I watched, but I'm going to go into in a minute. CW's The Rain. The beginning is always promising, but the trick is to keep it going, right? So every time John comes in, he will fix the bar. Not even a question. Can he fix the people? That's the question. Some people seem like they are fixed. They show promise. However, the trick is to keep it going. Now, can they keep that going? I don't know. The fact that they're now going to argue about names and things like that, you're already going down the wrong path. Instead, what do we do for promotions? What events can we have to set up? What can we do to continue this thing? You want to go forwards, not backwards.
Right.
And I'm looking it up real quick just to make sure I was right on that. I read it this afternoon when I was doing a little bit of research, and it said they got rid of the name, but that was what one person. Yeah.
And Ashley, what did you think of the remodel? And then you in particular said that you now will go into a 2-story bar and we'll look at it differently. What are you going to look for?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm thinking back now, we do have one in the North End that is very different upstairs than it is downstairs. No, not the Point. No.
Okay.
Gosh,
I'm glad we know what we're talking about, though.
I'll have to write it in the comments because I'm forgetting right now. But it is. Oh God, what's the name? Well, whatever. Anyway, but I never really think about it. But the upstairs is so different than the downstairs. It's kind of a narrow, because obviously the North End, very narrow. But the upstairs is they didn't pay any attention to it. It's white, just very white walls. There's maybe like 2 windows, and it's really all the people that can't get downstairs. There's no tables left. They go upstairs, and it's such a great space, and you really can utilize, first of all, just a view from a second story, you can really utilize the
especially
view that you have.
North End?
In the North End, oh my gosh, yeah. So I thought that just utilizing that and making it so distinguished so that they are 2 different entities, but they're still together, and also the way he mentioned the angle of the sign and how that really can change the way you're looking at it too, and you just want to go up. I thought it looked amazing. I thought it was amazing, like always. I would definitely go there if I was there. I need a good pizza. I live in California.
I swear to God, one day there's going to be like a bar rescue tour.
Well,
That
People, you know what I mean? Like people,
genius.
they'll just go to do it.
well, yeah, it's true.
For the ones that are still open.
Okay, so yeah, this article, Philly.com, said they're downplaying its Taffer developed alleged pizza motif. So they've gotten rid of the alleged window decorations, restored it with TVs that blare ESPN. On the second floor, renamed Second State Lounge. Drink specials are gone. Comedy nights and music acts have been reinstituted. Yes, that was one thing. That was a music comedy place that they would do upstairs. So that's back.
That was successful.
Yeah. And they said from day one, staff referred it to as OC. The other night, according to the Facebook, the former bar was reinstalled.
All right.
Well,
Well, there you have it. So, I hate that side of it. Here's the thing. I like talking about the actual episodes, because that to me is the most exciting part. And then when I hear these stories of people going off the rails to any extent,
it just goes to show you is either people are going to listen because they want to be successful, or people are going to go and do what they're doing right here. And obviously that wasn't successful for you. So now you were losing $2,000 a month, which he was losing $2,000. Well, you know what? That's going to be happening for you again. And
you made $1,200 in 1 hour.
Yeah.
I mean, stick to it.
So there you go. All right. Thank you guys for joining us for yet another Bar Rescue After Show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as we love talking about it. Let us know your comments below. We love listening to you guys. You guys have such great perspective. I'm amazed every day how many people watch the show and the amount of interest into the show. And in the meantime, Lula Cherry Films?
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Lula Cherry Films and on Instagram at DorindaB1.
On Twitter, Ashley Daniels, and Instagram, Miss Ashley Daniels.
And of course, follow us here at AfterBuzz TV, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And thank you, John Taffer, for everything that you do. We'll be here next week.
Happy birthday, Phil! Woo!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.